Hello friends of YouTube and greetings true believers. It is Fanus of Breath, and I am here with a little bit different segment than I usually do on my channel. What's been going on in the comics right now? Marvel, we got this story going on called The Death of Wolverine, and Marvel is going, it appears to be 100% forward with this plan to take Wolverine out of the comics, and it appears to be for a while. I've heard some people say that it could be a couple of years before they bring him back. So, I thought I'd bring a little bit different segment today. One of the things that is key about Wolverine and his powers is this healing factor, which is gone right now, and it has made Wolverine killable. So I thought it'd be really interesting today if I made a segment talking about Wolverine's healing factor, or the healing factor maybe in general, because it's not only him that has this, but it is mostly associated with him, and we got this little storyline going on, so I thought I'd make a connecting pattern. Wolverine, what do we know about him? Well, he has these claws, and he is filled with this unbreakable adamantium, which makes him a killing machine. And if that wasn't bad enough, what damage you can inflict to him is immediately, or pretty much immediately, rendered useless by his big mutant healing factor, which he was born with from a kid. Now, what I'm going to do with this little segment is I'm going to go more into detail about what makes this healing factor so great. Starting off, this healing factor does not just heal. It provides advanced growth. Now, what I mean by this is, and some of this stuff isn't necessarily explained in the comics, it is a little bit more imagination, but it isn't too hard to figure out in terms of like science and stuff. According to science, you know, as you're growing, muscles are developing, and tendons are growing together, bones are developing, and things like that. Well, what made Wolverine so strong is advanced growth from his healing factor. Now, what I mean by that is in the Wolverine origin storyline, they showed his beginnings as a kid, and he escaped his manor that he had grown up in, his mansion. And after the events in which his mother blew her brains out and his father was killed. After he escapes, him and this girl go to a lumberjack milling quarry sort of thing that's going on in Canada. And what's tied into this is very similar to weightlifting. As you know, whenever you're lifting weights, there are muscles that are kind of tearing and stuff because they're being used, and they heal up and things like that. And as you continue to work out, basically, without going too much into it, you proceed to get stronger. Well, with Wolverine, or Logan at this point, he is going to this mill and he's working, doing this heavy lifting with heavy stones and trees and things like that. His muscles are, in effect, like they would be working out. And these muscles are tearing, but his healing factor is taking effect, and what is happening is it's immediately healing this tearing, which allows for continued stamina, increased stamina. But these muscles are developing rapidly, and they show it in the comics. He gets very strong, very muscular, very quick. And so he's got increased stamina, speed, and strength due to this healing factor. It wasn't just injuries, it was growth. Now, with this healing factor, this is something that is more known, is diseases. Diseases. Anything you can think of. He's living out in the woods. He's running with the wolves, killing animals, allowing these wolves to eat as well as himself. Guess what? With this healing factor, he doesn't even have to go through the proper methods of cleaning an animal, gutting it, getting out all the material and stuff to get to the meat. He can eat it right away. Any bacteria that would come from rotting flesh or diseases or anything like that is immediately rooted out, so he's free to eat like an animal, which leads to his animalistic factor that he has for a long time. As well as that, he's incapable of getting a hangover. It's mentioned a couple times. He can drink as much alcohol and liquor as he wants. And also, he's a very frequent cigar smoker. He can do that. It doesn't build any tar up in his lungs. The healing factor immediately roots it out. Now, the drawback to this is any horrific events that happen in his life due to the death of an X-Men or, failed relationships with Jean Grey, whatever you want to name, he can't get that image out of his head. You know, he can't drink away the pain. He can't smoke away the pain. He attempts to, but anything that happens, any alcohol poisoning that could take effect, anything like that, is immediately rooted out. Next, we go into the Weapon X. Now, we've mentioned increased growth, and we've mentioned diseases. Well, with Weapon X, there's multiple accounts of how this actually goes about. If you look at it was kind of insinuated for a while that they basically had to rip him apart to put the adamantium in him. Of course, according to the movie, they inject this adamantium directly into his body through needles and whatnot. But regardless of how you take it, of course we know that this healing factor allowed him to survive the process. Well, something that is brought up very interestingly by Reed Richards in this Death of Wolverine comic, issue number 1, matter of fact. He had mentioned with the disease thing that Wolverine was incapable of getting like this metal poisoning, basically, from having this metal inside of his body, as well as bacteria from him popping his claws back and forth, which I should have mentioned in the injury-free thing. But what is also there is when he gets this adamantium put in his body, he's had extreme muscle growth and speed and stamina from working out all those years in the quarry. Well, he gets this adamantium that's very heavy and weighs him down. Normally it'd bring a normal man basically to the ground and make you incapable of moving. Well, Wolverine's already a superhuman at this level. He's able to move around. And it's not really shown in the comics. I'd prefer it had been this way, but he should have been able to run super fast or anything like you saw in the movie, or in the books. But Reed Richards says it's amazing that you still have your strength and stamina after this adamantium being put into your body because you've lost your healing factor. Well, how the healing factor aided that is this adamantium's tearing muscles apart from the inside as he's moving around because it's so heavy. It's almost like he's working out on the inside as opposed to lifting on the outside. Well, guess what? The muscles are being rapidly healed and stuff like that from the healing factor. It's allowing him to survive the process after the process. And another thing that doesn't show up in the comics that's very interesting and could have happened is, it happens in real life. When guys work out, there has been a couple of instances where a guy worked out so much that the muscles actually start exploding through the skin, and it's a very gross looking scene. Doesn't happen with Wolverine. Any muscles that would start doing that, the healing factor heals it, the skin probably stretches out, and he's allowed to keep getting muscular. He doesn't lose any muscle or tendons either over the years. This is scientific, but as a human ages, they age up to a certain point, and that point is considered the prime, the peak of a human's conditioning. It happens with sports athletes. You see it all the time. In sports, actually, it's considered around the age of 30 or so, give or take, where an athlete will be in his prime, where the muscles are at the peak condition, the human stamina is at the peak condition. And as they enter into a later age, maybe about 35 or so, muscles start slowing down, the body starts getting older and can't keep up. Guess what? With Wolverine, there's no downside. He's always at a peak form. Any muscle deterioration or stamina deterioration that starts to take place, the healing factor kicks in, keeps him going at top notch. So I've mentioned all these things that go on with the healing factor, and it's really amazing. It's not just, oh, he rapidly heals from any injury. Which, another thing I would like to speak of regarding injuries. How is it that he can have a body limb chopped off and it grows back like a lizard, basically? Well, the brain actually works in conjunction and in cooperation with the healing factor. Now, this is a little bit, on the kind of guessing imagination side, but one would guess that the brain is able to figure out what this mutant healing factor is doing. It's not something that's random and on its own. The only thing that can be figured out is maybe how long it takes to heal from an injury. But what it is whenever the body part's severed off, because it has happened before, the body still has those phantom nerve feelings that happens in place, and the brain can pick up on that. Well, guess what? When the brain picks up on that, the healing factor kicks in. They work in cooperation, alerting to the body of any damage, any material that starts to happen. And the body knows how the leg or what arm or whatnot works, how it operated, and the healing factor kicks in, starts regrowing all that stuff back. It's how Wolverine can take a headshot with a bullet, and immediately it's rooted out. Any lead poisoning is rooted out, the little hole in the head's rooted out, and he's able to keep fighting. And that was the coolest scene of Wolverine Origins I might add. So this video has went a little bit, but I thought I would just take a different segment to talk about the wonders and the kind of hidden powers that aren't really shown, but can be figured out, just through science and through, healing factor goodness. And it's not just him. Miss Marvel has this ability. X-23, I believe, has this ability. And several others, Deadpool. And Miss Marvel's healing factor is actually above Wolverine's, that's mentioned in the comics. That hers is actually more powerful. I don't know exactly how, but it's there. So thank you guys for watching, as always. Thank you for all the subscriptions, likes, views. I really appreciate it. I'm getting closer to 100 subscribers now, which is really cool. So until next time, humbly, Advance of Breath out.